Let's talk about the judgments and what they describe, particularly the seal judgments, the trumpet judgments.
Okay. Let's start with the seals. So we'll back up a little. We'll start with the first seal. We see a white rider riding on a horse with a bow and no arrows. It's always been interpreted by most theologians that this is indeed the Antichrist. And it very well could be the Antichrist, but it's more than that. Let's step back and look at what Christ said when he asked, what will be the events of your coming? What did he say? He said, first thing out of his mouth, make sure that nobody deceives you. That's the rider on the white horse. Religious deception. Christians will be deceived and not follow after Christ. The second thing, there will be wars and rumors of war. The second seal. The next thing, there will be famines. That's the third seal.
Yes, it is.
The next thing that Christ said was the fourth seal, pestilence, which is the fourth seal. We both skip over the fifth seal because there's a space and silence in heaven for a half an hour. And the last thing Jesus says is there will be signs and wonders in heaven. Sixth seal, where you have signs and wonders in heaven.
Yes.
So Jesus himself was actually quoting the first, seals 1 through 4 plus seal 6. But he described the first seal as religious deception. You know, the rider on the white horse. Now, most Christians believe my faith is strong, I follow the Bible, I can't be deceived. And I won't be deceived. However, let's think about it for a bit. How many Christians today believe in evolution? It's over 30%.
Yeah.
How many Christians believe that we, and those who believe in evolution, how many believe that we were seeded by aliens from another planet? Remember, we're talking about Christians.
Yes, and a lot do.
Yes, well over 50% of them. In fact, what I was just quoting was the United States stats. Christians in the rest of the world, the percentages are much, much greater. Is that not deception?
Yes, certainly.
So their first thing is do not be deceived. Now, the reason I think the deception is going to be so great, and we won't dwell on this, I just wanted to make one comment, is when the Antichrist comes, he will be able to do signs and wonders. Those two Greek words, signs and wonders, are specifically powers of God himself. Christ performed miracles using those same two root Greek words. The description is the same. For some reason, God gives Lucifer literally his power so that when he deceives the world, he produces signs and wonders proving to somebody that he is God. So if the deception is that great to convince people, Christians, that he is God, how do you know that he's not? He can perform miracles. It's very simple. If you don't see Christ coming back in the clouds and you're raptured, that's not God. That is a counterfeit. But
Wow.
We're getting beyond ourselves.
Okay, having gone through the seals, let's go now to the seventh seal, which when it is opened, it unleashes a group of trumpets 1 through 7, which take us into the judgments that I really want to talk about today, because you've got I think, some very unique and original thinking here.
Thank you. As you mentioned earlier, Noah, during Noah's flood, God presented a rainbow, a covenant that he would never again destroy the world by a flood. And later we find out that he would destroy the world by fire. So these judgments, you would expect, naturally, if the wrath of God has come, you would expect the earth to be destroyed by fire. We mentioned the first three judgments against the land, against the ocean, and against the living things by poisoning the waters on the earth, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, but we didn't say how. They are all by fire. Let me read the first trumpet, if you don't mind. Revelation 8:7. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and a third part of the trees was burnt up, and all the green grass was burnt up.
So
the word all is significant.
Fire from heaven.
Fire from heaven.
Now, this is something we don't see. This is like we think of it as supernatural, but Could it be natural?
It could be very natural. In fact, when God created the heavens and the earth, he made it very clear. On the sixth day, he rested. He set everything in motion. Let me give you a quick example. Suppose an asteroid hits the earth. Did God grab that asteroid and throw it to earth? No. He intended for it to hit it. He set that asteroid in motion when he created the heavens and the earth that long ago. So everything essentially, unrepentant man who does not know God will see everything as a natural cause and effect. So to them, it is a natural effect, but God set it in motion at the creation of the world. So what did he send in motion? Let's look at this verse more carefully. The source, the nearest source, is the sun, plasma from the sun, which is what the scientists are starting to theorize is going to happen from the sun. It's going to generate a CME burst, coronal mass ejection, which means a chunk of the surface of the sun itself, not X-ray emissions, is going to blast off the sun and hit the earth. Now, if that were to happen, it would have a viscous, liquidy type of feel at 6,000 degrees. Minimum 6,000, some estimate up to 10,000, by the time it comes to the Earth's atmosphere. With a pressure wave moving through the atmosphere, you now introduce the minus 150 degrees from outer space just outside our atmosphere to the stratosphere, which is saturated with moisture, instantly crystallizing all the moisture in the upper atmosphere. As the pressure wave moves through it, it compacts that ice into hail and ice. Now, so here's what we see. And there followed hail and fire mingled with blood. Where's the blood? As it moves through the atmosphere, at any given moment in the United States, there are about 54,000 airplanes flying in the air. They all have aluminum skins. The skins vaporize at about 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. Remember, we're at 6,000 minimum. We have vaporized all the planes and all the people in the planes and every bird and insect in the air. There's your mingled with blood. Now it continues on its way and it hits the earth. Third part of the trees were burnt up and all the green grass. The key part here for me is all the green grass. A liquid would flow on the ground and go into every crevice and destroy
You're talking
everything.
about a plasma.
Plasma.
This ejection from the sun would be,
Yes.
It's not gas, but it's a state of matter called plasma,
Fourth state.
which is very dense and very hot, and it would be like liquid, you've called it liquid fire.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely horrifying to me to think about that.
Yeah.
But when it comes, it would literally hit the earth with an impact and
Right.
spread out.
It would spread out, and hence all the green grass was burned up. In John's vernacular, this one sentence is a perfect description of a CME blast hitting the earth. Now, we mentioned earlier that the governments of the world know something that we don't know, right?
Sure.
2 years ago or 3 years ago, they suddenly, all the governments immediately started creating seed vaults. They started escalating the building of underground bunkers in cities, and at the same time started putting stuff into caves. For instance, the United States just announced that NORAD is collecting all of this and putting it back in the Cheyenne Mountains. What did they see? We now know what they saw. Last year in July, NASA announced that 2 years prior, January of 2012, there was a CME blast that came out of the sun. A CME blast that literally would have wiped out all life on Earth. Far more intense than what this shows. The blast missed Earth by 3 weeks. It was actually 3 weeks behind Earth. It shot past Earth. If Earth was 3 weeks back in its orbit, we wouldn't be here today. But of course that can't happen because God doesn't want that to happen. Question is, why did God show us that blast? He's giving us signs in the heavens. He's telling us what's happening.
And we now have the capability of seeing those signs.
We see that. They have a satellite system that can see those.
Hang on just a minute right there, and we'll rejoin that idea. Right now, I want to mention our upcoming magazine. This is the Prophecy Watcher, and we are going to have articles on Bible prophecy monthly in this magazine. And there'll be articles written by men like Brent Miller, Tom Horn, L.A. Marzulli, Avi Lipkin, Ken Johnson, Bill Salas. Bill Koenig's going to be writing on European politics, and many, many more. Of course, I'll have articles in the magazine. And from now until August 31st, you can purchase a charter subscription for your gift of $100 to Prophecy Watchers. You'll have a lifetime charter subscription. And this offer expires August 31st. We're looking very much forward to publishing this magazine and to including articles by men like Brent Miller and others, men who are on the cutting edge of thinking about Bible prophecy. Let's go ahead now and continue, because this is intriguing to me. Going through the trumpet judgments here, they're fiery judgments.
They are fiery judgments.
And it's not like unknown fire. It's fire that we can actually see today using scientific instrumentation.
Right, and the governments of the world are looking at it. The people are basically ignorant of it, because the information that's being released from the governments and the space agencies that have the satellites is far and few in between. But when they release it, then we know in retrospect afterward what it is they were seeing and why they were probably acting in the way they are. For example, the European Space Agency has a satellite network system called SWARM. SWARM monitors the magnetic fields of the Earth. And a year ago, in 2014, they announced that the Earth's magnetic field is starting to collapse. It is getting thinner and accelerating its collapse at 10 times the rate their worst projections had indicated. It is the magnetic field of the Earth that protects the planet from solar emissions. If it wasn't for the magnetic field of the Earth, the solar winds would vaporize our planet in just a matter of years. So with this magnetic field becoming weaker, and we now see that the sun is generating more X-class emission flares than it ever has been, and it is now shooting off CME blasts in random locations spherically. Now this is starting to make more sense. It's basically saying one of these will hit us. But that opens up and begs a question. 1/3 of the land mass, no matter how you read it in the original language, 1/3 of the land mass is vaporized by fire from this mass. The question is, which third? Let's take it seriously and get right down to, hard tacks. Which third? Revelation talks about the remaining 2/3 of land masses on this planet after this event. It talks about Russia, China, the kings of the East. It talks about Ethiopia, Africa. It talks about Europe. It talks about the Middle East. We know it's not that third. What's left? North and South America, which is approximately 1/3 of the landmass. So that includes the 850 million plus people on those land masses.
So the world is going to be basically recrafted in the day of the Lord.
Yes.
All of the Earth's tilt, the solar radiation, flooding, plate tectonics, everything is going to be juggled around in preparation for the kingdom age.
Yeah. For all intensive purposes, people who are non-believers on this earth will truly believe this is the end of the world, there is no more, because these events will happen in very quick succession. The pole shift, as we talked about in the last time I was here with you, just happens at the beginning of the 6th seal, and now we have the fiery judgments. The second one happens almost immediately after the first one. Let me go ahead and read that. And the second angel sounded, and there was a great mountain burning with fire and was cast into the sea. And the third part of the ocean of the sea became as blood, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea that had life died. The first theory, the one that is most proliferated, is that it's an asteroid that hits the ocean. Well, there's a lot of problems with that theory. First of all, asteroids aren't shaped like great mountains. It's a great mountain. Secondly, they're not burning in space. Third, if an asteroid that big hit the Earth, it would actually crack the Earth in half and destroy most all life on Earth. That's not the event that is occurring. It says, there is a great mountain cast into the sea with fire. It's still burning after it's in the sea, and it kills all 1/3 of the sea life. If you look at it from a scientific viewpoint, the only thing that makes sense, again, mankind will see it as a natural event, is a supervolcano under the ocean. A massive volcano is cast into the sea from under the ocean. a supervolcano which spews lava, fire. The ash and the lava pollute the ocean, 1/3 of the ocean, killing 1/3 of all the sea life, doesn't affect the rest of the planet.